Susanna Keith, Tech and Travel Mom, and we are thrilled to bring you another episode of Tech and Travel Mom Moments. I'm really excited to have with me here today my dear friend Arjan, and she's an executive coach with expertise in leadership. So tell us, what is your passion for your work?
So Susanna, I have a wonderful job because I work with people and helping them to lead their most meaningful and impactful life. So when you go and look around, so many people go through life just reacting to what comes on their way. And what coaching does really is helping people to become more proactive and empowered, to kind of become the architect of their own life and their career. And so I work with fascinating leaders on the intersection of who they are and the complexity of the work that they are doing, and helping them to create a vision on the impact they want to create either on a company level or on a community. And that can be locally here in Rye, or nationally, or globally. And in addition to that, we're focusing on that individual leader and how can we help him or her with their personal growth and leadership development. So what is exciting about coaching, it is incredibly results oriented, and you see, the difference you're making. So it's really about helping leaders create their greatest impact and having fun in the process, because I think engagement is a really important component to that.
Yes, as we know, engagement is everything in digital
That's
media
right.
and innovation, and you're doing such a great job innovating. And I loved your approach with your expertise with leadership. Tell us about some of that, like architecting leaders of sorts.
That's
You're the
right.
architect of leaders.
So you know what I always say, Susanna, when we talk about what makes someone successful, I think there's 3 points that make someone successful, and you know a lot about this because you're so successful in your field. So it's really about, first of all, you really have to understand the work you're doing. You kind of have to be a content expert, and that's not as easy as it sounds. That may have been easy, 100 years ago, but right now with the technology moving as fast as it does, being a content expert is actually quite difficult because you have to constantly stay up to date. And what is relevant today might not be relevant tomorrow anymore. So first is that whole aspect of being a content expert. The second one is emotional and social intelligence, because you may be the smartest person in the room, but if you don't know how to champion your ideas, no one is going to believe you, or you won't be able to influence people. So emotional and social intelligence and understanding people's motivation and communicating around it, second point. And then I would say that the third point is positive intelligence. And what I mean by that is, what is your outlook in life? Are you focusing on the problems, or do you have more of a solution-oriented approach? So positive intelligence, and there's so much research done on this, really goes to, where am I focusing my energy? If you have 100% brain capacity, are you worried and spending 50% of that capacity on being worried? Or are you focusing on being engaged and working towards a solution? So my favorite word in America is being a possibilitarian, and that goes to seeing possibilities, and that goes to positive intelligence. Does that make sense?
It. And I know you also have this wonderful thing about personal power.
Right.
How does that impact?
Right. So I actually focus on that also very often when I speak about leadership, female leadership, because that's something that I have a passion for. So my business is about 50% male and 50% female clients. And so I speak a lot about projecting personal power, because when we speak about projecting personal power, that has a lot to do with clarity and understanding your own strengths and your own values and what you can bring to a discussion. So I look at projecting personal power as in the middle of a continuum, where on this side is insecurity, and on this side is arrogance. And sometimes arrogance is actually closely linked to insecurity. But let's say insecurity here, arrogance there. Right in that middle area is projecting personal power. And what that means, when you actually project personal power, you first focus on the other person. So if I was in a dialogue with you, Susanna, I would first focus on you and listen to what you have to say, and having respect for what you have to say. Listening is one of the most important components in leadership. And then I become very aware that I have a seat at this table, and that I know my area of expertise very well, and that I have a lot to say about this topic. And that is projecting personal power, and that's actually something I work a lot with female leadership.
Well, excellent. I love it because I know you've been doing a lot of work with female leadership on the whole equal pay paradigm. And there's been a lot of that in the press. There was Equal Pay Day. Tell us about some of the work you're doing in that area.
Yeah, so as a matter of fact, I went to the roundtable discussion that was put up by Rob, the CEO of Glassdoor. And I was and Hillary Clinton was there, and I actually was an advisor of one of the panelists that served on that panel. Megan was there, the world champion soccer player, and what was fascinating there is that we actually demystified the whole aspects of equal pay. And so what is interesting, Susanna, a lot of people are familiar with the 75 cents to the dollar of female pay against male pay, and actually when we look at that number, that has to do with looking at the overall female population compared to the overall male population. If we actually are peeling away the layers and we're looking at female position and equal male positions in the United States, there's still a pay gap, but that pay gap is slightly smaller, and it's about, I would say it's 95% to the dollar right now. And if we look at that area, we're going to think about why is that pay gap there from 95% to the dollar, and that still has to do with a lot of bias, and conscious bias and unconscious bias. It also has to do sometimes with negotiating, compensation by women. It's a work that I focus on a lot to help them negotiate better. So that's kind of explains some of that 5%. That 75 to 100 gap is a very, very, very fascinating number, because that has a lot to do with, first of all, the fact that women tend to go in different kinds of industry than men, and those industries tend to have a lower compensation than men. So, for example, science and technology are higher paid professions that are that more boys end up in. And so that's one of the aspects of that difference between the 75 and 100. The other aspect is actually the leadership aspect. That, as you can see, we still only have 4% CEOs are women in the Fortune 500 companies. So women tend to not end up in those leadership positions, and projecting personal power is a big part of that. There's many other aspects why women don't end up in all the top leadership positions, and that's something that we really need to work on in my opinion. It also obviously has to do with women taking a break to take care of a family, and that the policies right now in this country are not always in the advantage of promoting those kinds of situations.
And I love the fact that you kind of seized that issue and you're now doing work and starting a not-for-profit with a great group of women called the Parity Project. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that.
Yeah, so that's the Parity Partnership, and we started that actually in Greenwich and here in Rye, and our goal is to educate the public about the differences still in gender, with compensation and the way we're looking at gender issues. And so the first event we had was at the Bruce Museum, and we had McKinsey speak there, and they kind of really laid out all the statistics and the advantage it would be to have actually gender parity, and what that would do to the economic bottom line, and how much better that would be for our country and the world as a whole. And we had Michael Kimmel speak, who actually is an expert on gender equality, and our goal was to have a lot of the male leadership in the room to actually have them understand that this is not a female issue, it's a leadership issue, and we definitely accomplished that goal. So that was very exciting.
Oh, excellent. Well, congratulations on the Parity Partnership. That's such a great event. And I also love that you attended our International Women's Day event with the Women in Innovation. So I thought like a great way for us to continue to work together was with the Women in Innovation group. We're going to do a great event on June 22nd at MasterCard, and I hope you'll come and maybe coach us along the way, because that's going to be about women in emerging digital leadership. So again, we can use some of these pointers that you've given us along the way. So I want to thank you so much for being here. You're amazing, incredible expertise. One important thing we also didn't mention is you're doing great work for iRelaunch. So if people are interested in doing an iRelaunch boot camp, you are the person, you're the expert. I know so many women in town who can give great testimonials. It's all about lifting each other up.
That's
so
right.
Thank you so much for your great time. And this is Tech and Travel Mom. I hope you'll tune in for more moments with us.